All right, cool. We're on. This is not the same people that you guys are normally used to seeing. Granted, you've only seen us once. Anyway, beneath the surface, I'm Nick the Red, and my co-host apparently decided not to show up today. Something about he got arrested in Mexico.
Yeah, you can't carry that stuff over the border.
Yes. So with me today is a special guest, multiple special guests, but one particularly special guest, Braden Spencer, our owner and operator of Deep Dive Games, St. Mary's.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I take to being called extra special. I am here. So.
And then we also have two guys we've invited to sit in with us today from the most recent one shot that Braden actually ran Saturday. You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? Give a shout out to anybody you want to say hi to?
For sure. My name's Eric. I was in the one shot, and I was really excited to do it.
I'm Thomas. I was also in the one shot, and shout out to my homies who taught me how to play D&D.
All right. Well, that's kind of the topic of today's show is going to be D&D related, centric, just kind of four guys talking about pretending for the next hour and a half that you're with us.
Yeah. So for those who aren't aware, and I don't know how you wouldn't be aware if you actually are in the zeitgeist of the store, we're soon going to be starting a real play D&D podcast. So in order to do that, we took tryouts, which we talked about for a little bit. Of the tryouts, we got like 21-ish people signed up that all did, like most of them did a phenomenal job. I narrowed it down to two groups of 6 and invited those people back for one shots. The first one shot was held on the 1st, and then the second one shot was held this last Saturday. They were both the same one shot with obviously a different group of 6. And so now we're going to narrow it down to our final 6 and get started on that podcast. But from last week's one shot, we have, like we said, we have Eric and Thomas here, who were Santiago Cinder Surge and Richard T. Hawksblood.
That's me.
And so, if you guys want, just give us like a quick background of your characters, and then we can start diving into it.
Well, he already has his ready. So,
So Richard T. Hawksblood is a warlock paladin, multi-class, mostly for backstory reasons. He is a.
Let me interrupt you real quick because it's important.
Go ahead.
Don't spoil your backstory in case we decide to use it for the real
Understood.
thing. Your whole backstory.
Yes. Well, Richard T. Hawksblood is a member of the Hawksblood noble family of Waterdeep, as a matter of fact. They are primarily vintners and brewers, and he's an innkeeper, actually. So it helps kind of like the family business have a good point of sale. And he's the youngest youngest son of the family. So unfortunately, he's not necessarily a important figure. He doesn't really seek to increase his station. He's just happy to increase the family's wealth, riches, and
Yeah, you're good.
love on his family and love on the people.
What led you to Paladin Warlock combination? Is it just the lock it in combo?
So it's something I've always kind of loved. I love the Gish
Yeah.
class,
Yeah.
the classic archetypes. Anything with sword and sorcery has been is a love affair of mine. But specifically, the Warlock Paladin is for backstory purposes that I don't want to spoil.
Sure.
And this is one of the backstories I'm most proud of for making. Actually, I tend to theory craft characters or backstories just for fun.
Yeah.
I have like sheafs of characters that
Oh.
I've made up.
I get it. I totally do. I have a file on my computer that's just said D&D characters, and there's about like 30 different character sheets in there.
Yeah, mine is I titled it "Passion, Not Obsession."
Yeah, his backstory is something that it's assuming that you guys do end up being a part of the final campaign, which I have not fully decided yet.
Right.
But assuming that you are, the backstory that you gave me is one that I definitely want to incorporate into that campaign because it fits thematically very well with what it is I'm trying to do. Which, like Nick was saying, with building characters, I sat down. I've never DM'd before prior to these one shots, like I said, and so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I have always like aspired to be not to be an author, but I've always liked writing, and I do it sometimes in my free time just for fun. And a lot of times finding inspiration is the hardest thing. But when I sat down getting ready to write the one shot in the final campaign, it's just stuff just kept like inspiration just struck. I'm so excited to get into these things. The world that I'm building an entire self-inclusive world for the actual campaign. And I've got almost a notebook full of what's going on in this world. So I can't wait to share it with everybody else and have it wrecked by the players.
That's how it goes, man.
See, and I love world building, so I'm actually excited if I don't end up getting into the thing because I auditioned too in the first group. If I don't end up getting into it, I'm okay with that because I'm going to sit there and read everything that he's written about it because I love world building because I'm the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I've been running off and on games in the same campaign world that I've had for like 20 years. And like, yeah, it's so much fun to like world build and whatnot. And just, yeah, seeing somebody else that's like that passionate about doing stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing where this is going, especially from somebody who's not really ever DM before, you know, that seeing that raw potential and then seeing where it goes, I think is going to be the most exciting thing about these shows. Because that's kind of what we're kind of aiming for, right? Is me and Braden have talked about it before, where that's kind of what we're aiming for is that whole like, I've never done this before. You guys have never done this before. Let's see where this goes. So I'm definitely I'm going to be watching, you know, from the sidelines. Also, I'm going to be logging in every week to kind of see what shenanigans you guys are going to get up into. So.
Dude, I get that entirely. That's kind of the thing that I love the most about D&D is seeing everybody's potential and watching their creativity flourish, especially when, you know, you have the old school grognards, which are great for teaching younger people, but watching someone who doesn't know what they're doing have that freedom to just watch their fantasy take flight is just one of the coolest experiences out there.
Yeah, and that's like my style that I aspire to have as a DM, because again, very little experience now.
Oh, hey, thanks for that follow. Who was it? Tuber Turtle.
Thank you.
Thanks for that follow there.
But yeah, the aspiration that I have for what I hope to be able to achieve as a DM is if somebody goes, hey, I want to do this. If it meets the theme of your character, accomplishes a goal that makes sense thematically, I don't care too much if it's within the actual bounds of the rules. If you're like, hey, I want to see if I can shoot this arrow with that chandelier and drop it on the guy. We're going to figure out how to make that happen because I like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so whether the spell that you're casting, or like, hey, I want to cast this spell, but I want to use it this way and tweak it a little bit. Maybe we use your spell casting ability as like a modifier. If you roll high enough, then you were able to use your knowledge of the arcane arts to tweak your spell to make it whatever. But I like the idea of, I don't care what the rules say. Your thing was cool. It works.
That's rule number 1 on the front page of the DMG is if it works for your game, use it. If it doesn't, throw it out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one thing that I've been theory crafting, which I'm not going to get into, but there's one thing I've been theory crafting for this campaign that, to my knowledge, I don't think has ever been done on a D&D podcast.
Okay.
And I'm doing it from scratch. It's a thing that I'm really looking forward to, and I know that you guys are going to absolutely ruin it. So it's going to be... just like my wife helped me come up with a part of the dungeon that we did in the one shot that neither party got to do, and it was a huge part that I worked on building it into, and both parties was like, "Yep, not doing that," and it just went right around it.
That seems complicated.
Yeah.
That's how it goes sometimes. You have like the just pure agents of chaos.
Yeah.
Like it's beautiful, it's glorious, but sometimes those plans you lay out and you're just hoping, you're like, let's go this way. We're gonna go this way. We're gonna like, can we just? I just want to see what happens with this. Nah.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's still a great time.
Best laid plans encountering the party.
Both parties, so party number 1, which he was a part of. You guys met Carry On, the court mage, right? He was an 8th level wizard, and you guys are a party of 5th level members, right? So he was supposed to be a hard fight. In your group, you guys all curb stomped him to death before he really got a shot off. Yeah. And then when he tried to turn himself into a suicide bomber and cast fireball on himself while you were all standing around, counterspell. And so you guys nerfed him to death. But the first group walks in and sees him, and one guy, because he's a gnome wizard, so he's a tiny guy. One dude who's playing Othos of the Longclaw. He's a Leonin paladin. Okay. Paladin, I think, or fighter. One of the two. He was a Leonin. So
he's a barbarian.
Huge. He was a barbarian.
Barbarian,
right,
yeah, because he raged.
Yep. The first thing he does is runs in and grabs the guy and grapples him. And it succeeds. I failed my save. He succeeded. So he grabs the guy. The second guy who entered the room invisible while carrying the titular point of the story, the Crown of the Justicar, which, if you put it on and are not the rightful ruler of Eldarion, it enacts a fatal curse on you, right? Well, this guy happened to be carrying the item. And so he's like, yeah, I want to put it on his head. And so one guy, this is supposed to be an hour-long conflict with a level 8 wizard inside of a tiny room. And I was like, these guys are going to get wrecked. right? These guys go, I grab him and I kill him. And
Yeah, pretty
yeah,
much.
he is, right? And so I was like, all right, let's go to the rest of the dungeon. And then again, the big mechanic that I had created, or my wife and I had created, was essentially the dungeon from The Pacifier, the Vin Diesel movie. And I gave you guys a song or I gave the bard in the group a song and told him like, this is an important song to this kingdom that everybody knows it. And I worked it into the backstory of the one shot. Well, there's a room in this dungeon called Shortcut that would get you guys straight to where you needed to go. But in order to pass through that shortcut, everybody had to do the Peter Panda dance from The Pacifier. Neither campaign, they were both like, shortcut in quotations, that's suspicious. Let's go fight 6 guards. So everybody was like, not doing that. All it was a goofy thing where I wanted you guys to have to, do a song and dance. Neither group. They're just not doing that. One group, your guys' group, snuck in through the toilets and worked my dungeon backwards. So.
It was definitely a trip. I'm not really like huge on D&D. I remember I'm kind of a nerd. I've always been like a
Coming
geek.
on a nerdy podcast.
Yeah, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Whoa, buddy.
I don't know the terminology, but like I've never really like deep dived into certain like aspects of games in general. And then one of my buddies introduced me to D&D for the first time, and I was like, "What's D&D?" I was telling him, and he was like, "Do not disturb." And he explained to me that it's Dungeons and Dragons, and he kind of like introduced me. He made me Santiago Cinder Surge, and this was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And the fact that I even remembered that, I messaged him and I called him and I said, "Do you happen to still have that character sheet?" And he did, miraculously. And then that's what kind of took it off on that.
Yeah.
And while I was playing, I was nervous in the beginning, but it kind of like led me into trusting more people and then working with the party. And then 'cause my character is built like a tank. I mean, I'm a rogue, but like I have 42. So like I wasn't gonna die. And I also had what's the one called where you don't go down to 0, you go to 1?
Relentless endurance.
Yep.
I had relentless endurance, so I wasn't gonna die. So if everyone else died around me, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
But then I turned out to be a serpent.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, right.
So definitely.
Well, yeah, would you like to walk us through how that wound up happening?
Oh gosh. So I forgot the character's name. Gideon.
Gideon was the fighter.
Gideon was the fighter, and then we went to
The Captain Anton Vance was his name.
and then the elf that we were with. What was his name?
Was he a party member?
Oh no, the dwarf.
He was a dwarf.
Oh yeah, Flint.
Okay, Flint.
Yeah.
So Flint got in because he's the best roller. I don't think I've ever seen any rolls better than him. I am the worst. So I know he says he wants to try out to be a guard for the event. I go to be a guard for the event. I'm ready for it. I'm looking at my stats. I'm feeling good about myself. And you say, roll for every single one.
Yeah.
So I take my dice. Immediately, I'm sweating. I am terrible at rolls. Even in the audition for it, I rolled a nat 1 to throw a rock over a guard's head.
Oh yeah,
almost
that's right.
ended up dying.
Yeah, you tried to distract a guard at a gate for the audition. You roll a nat 1, and I'm like, you hit him in the head with a rock.
So then I rolled
totally meant to do that.
I rolled for a 2 for strength. I think it was. Was it a 2 or was it a 1?
I think it was a 2. Yeah,
It was a 2, and then it was 2, 4, 6, and then it just went it was all like low numbers. I did not break 7 on any of them.
Yeah.
And then Anton looked at me and said, "Yeah, you will be a servant. You're not a guard."
Yeah, so for a little context, the one shot, the basis of it, which I probably should have led with this, we had a king who had died, a prince who was ready to take the throne. The kingdom itself has this relic called the crown of the Justicar. And that crown, when they put it on the head of the rightful ruler, it basically confirms their legitimacy. If they are not the rightful heir, either through dishonesty or just wrong bloodline, it just instantly kills them. The brother of the dead king usurped the throne, kidnapped the prince, locked him in prison, and was hosting a masquerade ball the night before his coronation. And it was our party's job to find a way to disrupt that coronation and restore truth to the throne, right? So the captain of the guard, Captain Anton Vance, was hiring people for the event. So he was hiring extra guards. And a couple of the party members went to the captain of the guard and were like, "Hey, we would like to try out to be a part of the guards, the guard force." And the way that I got them to do that was I had them roll a check in each of their categories, and I took the average and based on the average, I gave them a job at the party. Your average was like 6. And so you barely got hired at
What
all.
was Flint's?
Flint's average was 16.
Oh my god.
Which is why he got put on vault duty and just straight up was because he rolled 2 20s.
Yeah, see, I
Yeah.
heard about that. I
Yeah.
heard about that somebody managed to actually get in as a guard because I had my character who was a lizard folk ranger. I had really good stats physically. I had a couple of decent mental stats, but when I rolled, it's like my averages were just so bad when I rolled for this thing that they're like, you're good enough to be a guard, but you're not good enough to be a vault guard, so you're going to walk around the party and make sure people don't get in trouble.
Yeah. You got a party guard. So I had it set up in groups of 10. If you got below a 5, you were not getting hired. Right? 5 to 10, you could be a servant. And based on if it's a 5, you're a scullery maid, right? If you're a 9, then you can be like just standing by the masquerade ball watching everybody.
Yeah.
You were a scullery maid. So and then 10 to 15, you could be hired on as a guard for the party. And then a 15 to a 20, you could go straight into the vault. So we had a man on the inside. And so Flint, he rolled like I want to say it was like a 16.67 or something. And then you were at like a 10.6667.
The first time I rolled it, I think I got like a 12 or 13.
Yeah, that's right, because you did it. I gave you a second chance.
Yeah, I got decent amount, and then I was like, come on, I'm built like a Mack truck here. I can bite people's faces off. You really want me as a guard? And he's like, all right, we'll go through it again. So I rolled again, and the second time I rolled worse. And he was like, you're just gonna be a party guard.
And you tried to get a second chance.
Yeah, I didn't get a second chance, and I was like, what's a really good excuse for why I'm not on top of my game? Oh, I got it. I was piss-faced drunk yesterday.
Yeah, so that's the difference. He gave me a good reason, and you said...
What was his reason?
His reasoning was... I don't remember, but it worked. And you come up to the captain of the guard who's hiring you, and you're at a job interview, and you go, sorry, I'm really hungover.
You had me roll a persuasion.
That's right, yeah.
And I rolled like a 19 on the persuasion with 0 charisma.
Yeah.
Go figure.
He rolled well for the...
Any roll for stealth that I got, it was pretty much guaranteed I was going to get it.
Yeah. Your modifier for stealth was like plus crit 20.
Right. And that's the thing is I was definitely like looking at, because I know after the game, I was like, man, there was a lot of like, I wasn't going to try and step on his toes at all because he's the DM, obviously. Let him run the game as he is. But it was like a lot of those, I was like, man, that probably should have been a skill check. Because I was sitting there looking at my list of skills. I had like 8 skills picked out on there because I was using a lot of like the background stuff. I got some decent skills in there. I was a ranger, so I picked up the canny. The canny alternate class feature, which gave you expertise in 2 skills. So I was just like, I was skilled out. And I'm like, oh man, my athletics is good. My perception's great. I can track people down. I've got survival. I've got athletics, so I can wrestle around with guys because I was playing more of like a southern kind of Louisiana gator kind of lizard folk. So it's like, oh yeah, I can wrestle around with them guys. And he's like, yeah, give me attribute checks. I'm like, fuck.
Damn it.
Yeah, but
being hungover for a job interview really isn't a good look.
Yeah, not really. No.
But to circle back real quick, you're telling me that this 7'6" half orc was in a maid's outfit the whole night, and we didn't know that?
It was just the servants.
Oh.
His title was scullery maid. It's
I definitely was not in a maid outfit. I was wearing it's what I imagined it as was more of like a white and gold like hood. So it was like a whole hood over top, like a full thing over the top, and it has like the huge like
sleeves.
Huge open sleeves where you can hold your hands like this.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I kind of imagined it like.
Plus your Robin Hood hat.
The bright green.
Yeah. You decided to steal a hat from the markets.
I wanted something. I mean, I rolled to get back there with Misty. Yeah. So I wasn't going to leave with nothing. Yeah. Because, I asked her if she wanted me to carry one of the robes for her, and she was like, no, I got it. I'm like, you are the size.
You're a mouse right now.
Yeah. How are you going to carry these massive robes?
Yeah.
But, with that stealth amplifier, I forgot what the total for that roll was. Wasn't it like a 36?
Yeah, it was like 33, 34 or something like that.
I could have just walked right up to him and just beat him down. He would have no idea what happened.
Yep. It was a plus 19.
Yeah. But that's what I was
without trace and expertise.
Oh, okay, yeah. So when I built mine, I was like thinking, okay, I want to have some utility, maybe some combat stuff. I completely skimmed right over Pass Without a Trace. I should have taken that one. That would have made things so much easier.
It's just the instant I ghost into the wind.
Yeah, but Nick gave me feedback after the first one shot, 100% accurate. I was doing everything as a saving throw. It was just like I had a DC set for every single check that you did, and then I was like, yeah, give me this saving throw, this saving throw, this. He's like, hey, some of these need to be contested, some should just be skill checks. I tried to make that adjustment into the second campaign. I think I did a little bit better at it.
Yeah, you did.
But again, like I said, I'm very, very inexperienced at this. And so I think that hopefully that's kind of an alluring thing for this campaign. Because anybody can go watch Critical Role and be like, hey, these are how the rules work. You can go read a book, you can go sit at the library. And that's awesome. It's fun. But I think it's interesting, more like similar to like Dungeons and Daddies, where it's like a D&D adjacent podcast. We're going to be like, hey, you guys can yell at us about the rules in the comments later. We're going to just see how this plays out.
Yeah, I want to build a story more than I want to read a rule book.
Yeah,
kind of
right.
thing.
Exactly.
Right. And ultimately, that's really what I enjoy the most about D&D is that the rules are kind of like suggestions and guidelines and actual rules. So the idea that, you know, especially having somebody like Braden who's very inexperienced at running games versus somebody like me who's been playing the game since Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I've been running games for the better part of like 20 years. So like I kind of have a feel of like, okay, that's do this, that's you can do that. Oh, you want to try that? Cool. Let's go ahead and throw that in as a acrobatics check or something, you know, doing that kind of thing with it. It's a lot easier for me to kind of just pick up on those things. It's going to be a lot of fun to see where he goes with it, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have met Nick prior to this, but he's
No,
actually...
I was here when you guys came in for
Yeah.
your auditions, but I
Gotcha.
don't really know you guys.
He may
Talk a
not
little
look
bit
it.
about painting.
He's 107 years old. So he has been here since, like him and Gary Gygax. He was actually Gary Gygax's preschool teacher.
He
Oh,
is
yeah.
the Grognard.
Yeah.
How did you want at the very end? How did you want it to end? What
How-
what were you envisioning that it was going to play out to be?
I honestly went into it with very little expectation on it reaching a goal that I had in mind. I wanted a couple of things to happen throughout. But as far as the ending, I could see it being a big fight, like what we wound up having in both parties. Which I think that ultimately that's what everybody wants. You want that big climactic.
Right.
But there was also the option to escape as soon as you guys saved the prince and the crown. You could have escaped through the sewers, which is what they were put in there for, by the way, not for entering through. But you could have escaped through the sewers, regrouped, showed up at the coronation, and put on a big show. If you did it that way, I was going to make the conflict happen then. We were going to fight.
Okay.
Either way, you guys are going to fight our big bads. But honestly, I don't think that either campaign, if I had imagined an ending, would have been as entertaining as the endings actually were.
It definitely was entertaining. The stink cloud threw me for a loop.
Oh,
yes.
so
I
bad.
sat
Oh,
there and I
Derek.
looked at him, and
I heard about
he was
that.
he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to cast a harming spell.
Yeah.
On, the one guy that triggers the only guy
Yeah,
that says, do not fuck with this guy.
So for more context, I entered in a character who essentially, he was, if anybody didn't catch this, I'm surprised. He was basically Sandor Clegane, or Gregor
Yes.
Clegane, the mountain. But after all of the experiments had been done on him, so he was just, the character's name was the Silent Knight. He was like a 7-foot tall paladin who was, his HP started off at like, he was like a 9th level paladin versus all of you guys. And I put in your information packets at the very beginning, do not
Do not fucking-
interact with the Silent Knight. Right? It
So
was
what
just a
happens?
huge warning from the lady who hired you. Do not go into conflict with this guy unless absolutely necessary. He had a magical connection with the guy that was trying to usurp the throne, that if that guy was ever in real danger, he would intervene before the danger happened. He could sense danger about to happen to that guy and would make his move to interfere, right? Well, our bard of the group, Mr. Derek Hodges, decided that when his vicious mockery failed, because he was going to try to insult Vero at his party, I don't know, I think the goal was to make a distraction. When his vicious mockery failed, he goes, I class, what was it, stink bomb? Stink cloud?
Stinking
Poison-
cloud.
Stinking cloud.
Stinking cloud? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm going to poison this guy. And I was like, I made it very clear before we started. I was like, if you guys say I cast, you cast that spell. Like, you don't take that back.
22 a day said we didn't listen.
For real.
Yeah, so as soon as he's like, I cast Stink Cloud, and I was like, hey, what does that do? He's like, it deals this much poison damage. And I was like, the Silent Knight is behind you. He's like, "Ugh." And I said, everybody roll for initiative.
It's Othorus.
Oh, it is,
Oh.
David?
Yeah. Okay, David. Hi, David.
Yeah, David, if you missed it, we talked about how you guys one-shotted my wizard.
Who needs
Brilliant.
combat?
Listen, you give me the MacGuffin, I'm gonna remove your big bad.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna use the MacGuffin.
Exactly. Now that was one of those moments where it was just like jazz music stops, just oh
Yeah.
please don't.
No, I definitely learned that Silent Night was not to be fucked with because I definitely went toe to toe with him.
Oh,
He said, I just gave him a big hug to calm him down.
he's just having a temper tantrum. He needed to go down for a nap, you know? And then he just melted in your arms.
He just melted into goo. Yeah. They had to like shake off the ground.
The wizard, the wizard.
But no, yeah, whenever you went toe to toe with the Silent Knight, honestly, you held your own. You can very well tell that your character was made to fight.
Very
but
good at it.
I will admit, I realized after you went toe to toe with him, he was not as strong as I wanted him to be. So after that fight, whenever he was holding his own as a single combatant, I made him way stronger for you guys.
God. Sorry?
How much damage?
I
did you
went
end
from
up dealing?
56 hit points to 16 by the end of that fight.
Yeah. The Silent Knight, when you guys were fighting him, and again, you guys had what, 4 or 5 people? Because you did, I don't remember who did it, did a very intelligent thing of showing the 2 people who were neutral in the conflict, the 2 members of the party. They said, hey,
Flint.
look, we found the prince.
Yeah, Flint did.
Was it his idea? And so you guys got 2 of the biggest combatants to join your side whenever the fight started. And so that really gave you guys an advantage. But the 2 big or one of the 2 big combatants and like half of your party were just pummeling the Silent Knight over and over and over. You didn't get him to half health.
Did not even care.
No. Yeah, he started off with 100 HP. I think you guys got him down to like 56.
Yeah.
See, when I went into that, if I was kind of hoping like, okay, can we like use that sort of like precognitive like intervention to just make him jump around the battlefield before he actually murders somebody?
Yeah, so he that was a part of it. If somebody else started really, he would turn his attention to that person. But he never really got to that point. You guys killed Vero so fast. And once that spell is broken, once Vero is actually dead, he just returns to his post because that was his normal mission, was to stand in front of this vault door. And so you guys are like absolutely beating the shit out of this guy.
No, they were all the way over here, and then they're trying to attack the Silent Knight. I'm like, is it?
22 a day said he did really, really well against the Silent Knight. I had faith in him, so I went for the general.
There you go.
But yeah, so as soon as Vero dies, the Silent Knight's like, okay, I'll go stand at the door again. He just like walks away, but he was pretty much fine. Like,
I thought that would kind of happen because I mean, it says in the packet like he might be human.
Yeah.
He might be this. He might be that. There was no like real correlation, anything.
Yeah.
And then it was revealed later that he follows his missions, and his first one was like stand there and just protect this guy. So I was like, Thomas, get this guy with me.
Get him, man.
If he's gone, what's gonna happen? 'Cause, I mean, and then they all just wanted to gang up on him.
I mean, it's fun though. Like he's a challenge. He's definitely when you see something in a packet in bold lettering that says "Do
Don't
not
do
fight,"
this.
everybody's gonna be like,
Immediately do this.
I'm gonna do that.
Like,
yeah, and then
there's a big button. I
Yeah.
just gotta press it. All right.
it was
I don't hate the
Derek,
rules.
right?
Yeah.
As soon as he got attacked by him, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
like,
no.
one. It took one attack, and everyone was like, yeah, I'm not.
That was the
doing
same
this
deal in the
anymore.
first party. A couple of the members, if the Silent Knight swung his greatsword at you, like a couple of you guys, he could kill in one shot if he rolled right.
Oh,
So that's why he's such a threat. Like, and I thought he was going to pick off 1 or 2 of you. In the first party, one guy almost killed himself because he was like, because they have the 2 crowns, right? There was the
gonna
fake
mention
crown that has the enchantment that if you're not Vero, it kills you. Well, they were like, well, this one must not be enchanted. It's the fake. I'm going to put it on and look fancy at the party. And I was like, oh, like I didn't tell him no, but luckily the rest of the party was like, don't do that.
So a little bit of context on that. We definitely thought that that the crown was fake. We had a couple of members that were like, well, I could cast Identify on it. I could cast, Detect Magic on it. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do the Detect Magic because that's kind of a range thing. We ain't got to touch it for that. And, explained how to do Detect Magic. And I kind of felt like I was stepping on people's toes a little bit. And I did apologize afterwards because I was like, I really should just let people do the thing that they're doing, but wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, like, hey, this is how this works. That way nobody kind of gets into trouble. And Braden even asked me, he's like, so exactly how does that work? And I'm like, okay, it's a 60-foot cone. You concentrate on it for a round, and it tells you if a thing is magical in that 60-foot cone. You concentrate on it for another round, it tells you how strong that magic aura is. And then if you concentrate on it for a third round, it tells you what school of magic it comes from. And so he's like, okay, cool. So then they were like, yeah, we're going to cast Detect Magic. And then he's like, yep, it is totally magical. And then they're like, okay, we're going to wait for a round. So 6 seconds later, he goes, it is extremely magical. And we're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't put that on.
Yeah, but the whole time he's like, I still think it's okay.
I
And
think it's okay.
He at one point goes, what if I am the rightful ruler? And I was like, dude, you're not. Like, do not put that crown on.
Well,
your
because
head.
like the whole thought process behind it was like, if this is a fake ass crown, like a fake crown, right, and it just has some little like illusion enchantment on it or something, we would be like, okay, what happens if one of us puts the crown on in front of this huge crowd of people, and then suddenly we're the rightful heirs now because the crown has chosen us? So that was the thought process kind of going into it. And I think Othos was going to grab Hank, who was the mage, and just kind of like fastball special him at the crown, have him like grab it on his way by, land, and then just put it on.
Yeah.
And then we, I believe it was
Ash.
Ash. It was what was Ash's character's
Ari.
name? Ari. That's right. Ari was like, well, I have detect magic and identify, and she was like, let me cast detect magic on it first.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, yeah, go ahead and detect magic. And then he was like, yeah, it's extremely magical. And then everybody like mid, like about to throw Hank, they're like, don't do that.
Yeah, that was one of my big like twists that I threw in, was that both crowns will kill you if you put them on. Because I was kind of expecting somebody to mess around. But Ari, of the 12 people, Ash playing Ari, was the only person to go, hey, how do we know that this isn't just enchanted in a different way? And like everybody was like, there was maybe a half a second where people were like, yeah, maybe, but then they just right past that. And I was like, all right, well, guess we're going to see if somebody kills themselves in the middle of this party.
I can just imagine this slight little wizard just getting yeeted across the party, picks up this crown on the way by, he's like, I got this, is going to be great.
90% of that happened. That is how they got the crown.
Yeah.
They
So
turned
they-
Hank invisible
And
fastball threw him over it, while somebody else, what was it, the push?
Yeah, Nikki.
Nikki, yeah.
The
our
rat,
rat folk from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Iggy, the person playing Nikki, decided, just like you guys, was trying to egg on a fight between Gideon and Vara, which, correct. That is like, that's what he's there for. But Iggy was like, hey, I'm going to put in, they used message, like everybody else, to put into his ear that Vara was like trying to start a fight with him. And so they're pissing him off and getting him drunk all night. And then when Varo got close to him, one of them pushed him so that he bumped into Gideon. And Gideon is like ready to fight. And then at that point, when Gideon decides he's going to fight Varo, the Silent Night takes off. And that's their end to get in the vault. That's how they decided to do it.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
That is not how that worked out for us.
No, it wound up, I can't remember who decided to lay...
it was me.
You healed Gideon to cure his drunkenness.
Right. So he was drunk, and I'm like trying to egg him on, and he's very much so like acting like a coward, not this boisterous guy that I met in the marketplace. Because earlier,
Othos.
No. It was me and Gideon bumped into each other.
Well, Othos challenged him to a fight on the grand stage, and then Varo shut it down and told him.
Oh, yeah. So this is that part. I was talking about earlier in the session. Earlier in the session when we were in the marketplace, Gideon was walking around drunk, boasting, yelling, carrying on, and all that. And we were sitting there talking about it because we had just a little group with us. And I think we came up with the idea that, like, okay, maybe we go up to him, maybe we kind of like egg him on, maybe kind of get buddy with him through contest of arms or something. You know, this is where like the whole like, hey, let's roll some athletics checks or something like that to do some wrestling.
The dwarf.
Okay, yeah. So we were gonna do that, and me being the second strong guy in the party because I had an 18 strength, and so did Othos. And I think Othos was off doing something else.
Yeah, he was being our nobleman in the magic shop.
Yes, literally walked in. Hello, I am a noble.
Yeah, a 7-foot lion in a trench coat, just being like, "I am noble too. How are you?"
Oh no.
Hilarious. But, so I was in the marketplace, overheard Gideon. He was all carrying on. I was like, okay, this guy's drunk. Maybe we can do a little, like, wrestling or something, become buddies, and then that might be a way into the party for some of our guys. So, of course, I walked up to him, and I was like, hey, let me buy you a drink. And he was like, oh, you're a big guy, and I forget exactly what you had said.
He looked at you. So Gideon is always drunk. He's a drunken brawler. But as soon as you call him out, he turns to you and he goes, "What are you?" He just yells at you, "What are you?" And you're like, I'm Placide Dulac, or whatever it was you said.
And so he was like, challenged me to a fight. And then I was about to do it. And then I think the other guys that were with me were like, you do that and the guards are definitely going to be coming. Like somebody is going to call the guards because you are literally wrestling or you're fighting with the head honcho army guy. And so I was like, well, maybe we could do like I was like, how about an arm wrestling contest? And I convinced him to arm wrestle me instead. And so we rolled, and I ended up beating him. And so like tossed him over the barrel, picked him up. He was laughing. I was laughing. I was like, let's go get that drink now. And he's like, you know what? You're cool. You should come to the party. And he like hands me this slip or something. Because I was like, I'm trying to get in as a guard at this party because we had heard about like them hiring on stuff. So he's like, yeah, here's a recommendation from me. Just take it to the guard guys and tell them to hire you because I said so. And I'm like, awesome. Appreciate you. So when we get to the party, fast forward to the actual party, I'm there as a party guard, right? And they tried to hand me some armor or something. I just looked at it like, no, I can't wear armor. I've got scales. I'm perfectly good. You want to try to cover up this fantastic reptilian flesh? I don't think so. So I get to the party. I see Gideon in the corner by the fountain, walk over to him. I'm like, man, I heard your cousin talking some mad cash about you being a drunk and a Slavan, just a fool, acting crazy and whatnot. I think he's gonna get rid of you when he becomes the king. You should do something about that. And I'm trying to egg him on, and he's just like, he's gonna be the king and he's gonna be right. And I'm like, why is this guy so depressed right now? Like, he should be getting angry about it. So I was trying to egg him on to it, and eventually, like, it was obvious that I was not going to be able to convince him to fight Vero, right? And so I was like, hang on a sec. He's drunk. He's not thinking clearly right now. I said, I'm going to cast Lesser Restoration on him. I'm going to remove his drunkenness because that's what it does. It removes diseases. It removes poison. It removes negative conditions, basically. And being drunk is under the effects of being poisoned. So I was like, boop, you're not poisoned anymore. And he was like, yeah, he like stands straighter. He's like clearer of mind, of body. And he seems, I'm like, yeah, maybe you should have a nice long chat with your cousin about your position in this here army. And then he was like, yes, I should do that. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to get him to fight now. And then he comes down and nope, he allied with his cousin.
Yes.
And we were like, oh, now we got to fight Gideon? I'm like, damn.
I egged him on too. I did it a bit weird though because I was a maid. I was carrying like trash like this, and I was walking past him, and I'm like, I think someone trying to fight you. And I'm walking, and he's like, did you say so? I'm like, oh shit.
You literally walk by him, hold trash over your face, and go, people are calling you a bitch. And then walk 3 steps away, and he goes, what did you say? And you go, I didn't say anything. And I'm like, roll persuasion. You're like, 26. It's like, he believes you, I guess.
And then I end up challenging him to a fight.
Yeah.
At the party.
Honestly, one of us was going to do it, and Othos ended up being the one that did it just to make a distraction.
Yeah.
And
Keep
then,
in
of
mind,
course,
rogue.
granted, skills out the wazoo.
Well, no, it did not go well for him.
It didn't?
No, he was getting
My health was fine.
It was a barehanded fight. I told him, I was like, if you use
Oh,
weapons,
right.
if anybody aids you, that's combat. This is
Yeah.
a barehanded challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they're trying to fight each other.
Yeah, and you can't get sneak attack unarmed.
Nope.
Not unless you're a monk, too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. They said, are you a monk? And I'm like, they're like,
Ooh.
I just kept
Alright.
every time that that Gideon would hit him twice
Mm-hmm.
and take. I mean, you took decent damage.
I
yeah.
ended up taking 9 total.
Yeah, and so every time he'd hit him, I'd be like, "You can bow out whenever you want." Like, and so eventually he's like, "I'm gonna take one more, and then I'm gonna quit."
I didn't hear no bell.
right.
I was kind of waiting because I wanted either someone to do something, someone to notice
Somebody
something,
jump
someone to
in.
move.
Yeah,
And then it got to the point where
And nobody
I was like-
did.
I was waiting. I'm like, anyone?
yeah. No, at the
Anyway.
time, you guys were the entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna back out now.
I want to defend myself here. I gave you guys a chance
Yep.
because I let everything be silent. Right? I can't remember what it was, what the situation was, but I said the crowd comes to a lull for a second, and I was like, I'm gonna wait for like 3 seconds. If any of you had started shouting, fight, or anything like that to get the crowd going, because this is when Vero
Yeah.
and Gideon were there,
Okay.
right? Because Vero challenged Gideon, and Gideon accepted and stood on the stage. And then when I rolled for him, he wound up thinking better of it. But I gave you guys the opportunity. I let the crowd come. I said, you guys are standing in the crowd. Everybody is ready for this fight. It's on the edge of its seat. And there's silence. And I counted. and nobody was like, fight him! Or not. If anybody had shouted in to egg on that crowd, Gideon and Vero were going to go
2
at it.
seconds after you stopped counting, didn't one of us like, you're a pussy?
Yes. Oh my god.
Derek.
It was like Gideon's walking away. Bitch.
Yeah, it was Derek.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Dude, was
That
too
sounds
funny.
like something Derek would
I don't know
do.
why he used think bomb. Me and him were talking about it on the ride home.
It's a wild choice.
We were talking about it. I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't we buy 3 smoke bombs? And he's like, yeah, we did. And
You
I
guys
was
bought
like,
smoke bombs. You bought poison that didn't get used because,
I tried, but
well, Flint also. you tried to use some of it and it just failed,
yep.
which happens. But Flint forgot that message is out loud. So he snuck into the vault as a guard, is playing cards with the guards, and his plan was to poison them all so they would pass out, or at least one of them,
Oh.
right? And so he's giving them all drinks, and then our party member uses
trying to
message
get
to
them
talk
drunk.
to him, and is like, how's it going? And him playing cards out loud goes, well, I'm trying to get them all drunk, but this guy won't drink because he's on a holy holiday. And I go, they all go, what the fuck was that?
Huh?
So they threw him in jail because they're like, you got hired today, and are weirdly talking to the void about how you're plotting to get us drunk. Like, yeah, to jail with you.
I was kind of hoping that they would walk out because they had the crown.
Mhm.
I was ready. I was like, please come back to me. I got a great idea. And then he goes, yeah, I'm gonna attack this guy. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And it kind of sped off.
It's another thing.
But my
it's
stealth
very
was-
much Derek.
Yeah.
My stealth was out. Like my stealth was flawless.
Yeah.
There was no way, not even if I rolled a nat 1, would I fail a skill, like a stealth check.
Yeah.
So-
Well, Nat 1 is an auto fail.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it an auto?
For me, it is.
Oh,
For him, it
if
is
you roll
short.
a Nat 1, you fail. If you roll a Nat 20, you succeed.
That's
I don't,
fair.
I don't care what the stats are.
So what I was gonna do is grab the real crown from them, bring it back. He was gonna use a smoke bomb to just dip out,
Yeah.
and then I was gonna switch the crowns.
Switch the
Oh,
crowns.
brilliant.
Because that's what I really wanted to do.
Right.
just
So at
switch
the
crowns
coronation,
and
like,
just
yeah,
let
yeah, no,
everyone
go
get out.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yep, everyone get out, and then just wait.
Yep.
Because I mean, he would die. We don't even need to go back. He
The
would
thing
just
with
die.
that, because I did have that in mind, if the crowns get swapped and the coronation happens and Vero just dies, the kingdom is going to go into anarchy. Because they're going to
That'd
say,
be
well, who's the next ruler? And Gideon is going to stand up drunk and go, everybody line up, and just start putting the hat on.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
And so you would have caused the kingdom to collapse beneath itself.
I mean,
But
we
you-
would bring the prince back
Yeah.
to like hidden.
Yeah, if you do it and save the prince, you would still succeed. If
Okay,
the
that's what I
prince
mean.
was
It-
not found
Oh yeah,
and you swapped the crowns, the kingdom would collapse.
100%. I was
Which would've been fine.
because he had the prince with him and the crown. I was gonna ask them, toss
It
me
is
the
the
crown.
one
and
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
to,
gonna
like,
go.
launch.
I'm gonna switch, and then we're gonna smoke bomb out of here. But then it just all kind of went from down here to like up there.
Yeah,
And
from
it
a
was
stink
over.
bomb.
Listen, I bodied Vero in one round. All
Dude,
right,
that
we
was
got
insane.
That's
it.
true.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about that piano?
The
Sorry,
pianos
those
were-
pianos.
multiple pianos. So great. That was.
Oh.
I loved it. I thought it was like he actually was manifesting a legit piano, and I'm like, can I get out from underneath the piano? And he's
Yeah.
like, oh no, it just turned into like motes of butterflies. Like,
Yeah.
da-da-da. I was like, oh, he
So-
is a fae.
I put in a character who was just like chaos incarnate. His name was Marius the Magnificent, and he was the party entertainment. He was another gnome wizard, just because I think it's funny to have tiny wizards.
Mixel pixel.
Secret time. I had a 2-pack, so I needed to use both of them.
Okay.
But anyway, he was a gnome wizard, and he cast wild magic intentionally as part of his act. So I made him do as many spells as I possibly could, and every single time he would snap his fingers to do one of his spells, I was rolling a d20. If it was a nat 1, we go to the wild magic chart. We only had to do it once. But he had 3 tricks that you guys had to get through in order to get a secret from him. Was the whole gimmick of his existence. But yeah, you didn't do so well in those tricks.
No, it's like, you're good. Wham! Piano.
Yeah, he had one of his tricks was it was called, I can't remember what it was called, but he would snap his fingers and you would roll a d6. And each number corresponded to a thing happening. Either the people hear a joke that they think is hilarious and can't stop laughing, your teeth disappear for an hour, which wound up happening. But one of them, in that one, a grand piano appears above your head. You have to do a DC 13 dex save in order to dodge it. And you failed twice.
Twice.
That explains where the piano came from when Bird was up there doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other thing, you almost got caught with Tasha's...
Tasha's hideous laughter.
No.
No,
the
Tasha's
flower.
caustic brew.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
He was
magic
like,
flower.
Gross.
Yeah.
Smell my flower?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
Jesus,
like,
you were
oh,
jokering
yeah.
it.
Nat 1.
Yeah.
So what was it? A 6 foot or a 5 foot radius of acid sprays at you.
Yeah.
He happened to succeed on that dex, and all of the grass behind him for like 20 feet was just vaporized.
Oh Jesus!
And the whole crowd was
it's
like,
a 20-foot
"Yay!"
line of acid.
Mm-hmm. It was going to be just a whole thing straight to the face.
Yeah, but
Like,
hey, it happens. You don't mess with
Every
don't mess
now
with
and
the
again.
gnome.
See, you would get the reference. As soon as I heard about this character on the stage, immediately thought it was Wit.
See,
100%.
I feel that. I
Yeah.
get that.
I
In
totally
hindsight, he
thought
kind
it
of
was.
is. I
Yeah.
did not intend for that. Maybe subconsciously.
Because it was like, oh, this prankster, this jokester, but has a secret that will give us information about what actually is going on.
Yep.
Yeah. When he came to me afterward, he goes, "That was Hoyd, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Oh, well, kind of. I didn't mean for it to be."
Yes, it was.
It is now.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Which those who don't know, Stormlight Archives, read them.
Yes,
Yes.
100%. Brandon Sanderson, amazing author. This Joker introduced me to it, and I cannot stop reading them.
I don't even remember. I finally picked up like book 1 and I read it in like 2.5, 3 days.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I read mine in almost a sitting.
Yeah.
I wound up at Waffle House at 4 a.m. reading the last 300 pages in one go.
Yep.
They are that good.
It is.
See, I
amazing.
have them all on my my Kindle, and I just while I'm at work and I've got a break or something, I'll just sit there and read.
But unfortunately, Brandon Sanderson can write faster than I can read, so I'll never be caught up.
You know, I'm getting there. I'm like 400 pages into the Wind and Truth right now.
Yeah, but then you've got Mistborn, and you've got Elantris, and you've got,
Joke's on you. I've already read Mistborn.
well,
That was the first one I read. I read the Mistborn trilogy, the first 3 books.
Okay.
yeah.
And then, because I went online, because when he was talking about Brandon, right, about reading him, I was like, okay, I want to do this right. So let me look up the actual order in which the author suggests reading his own books.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, cool. So he said, start with the Mistborn. And he's like, go over here and read this one-shot book, and then go over here and read this other one-shot book, then start the Stormlight Archives, and then read like 2 books into the Stormlight Archives. Stop, go read this other book. And I was like, nope, okay. I read the Mistborn. Loved them.
Yes,
Loved them.
so good.
Great world building. Loved the magic system in that in those books were really, really good. Then I bought the book that he wanted me to read in between the 2 and didn't actually read it because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and read the Stormlight Archive. So I read Way of Kings and immediately got hooked. Like I already was
Oh
hooked
my
on the
God.
author because of the Mistborn trilogy. It's so good.
Yes.
But then read Way of Kings, and I just got hooked. And I'm sitting there talking with Braden about it over and over, just all about it, because he had already read up through that book. And then I got the second one, read through all of that rapidly. Like I think it only took me like 2 days, 3 days to read through that one. Got into the third book, read all the way through that.
Oh, Oathbringer.
Oathbringer's so good.
Oh,
And the way it ends, the cliffhanger it ends on, you're just
Yes.
like, oh, I need more. Immediately went and bought the 4th book, got rating, and then realized I outpaced him.
Yeah, he had passed.
So now I can't talk about what I've been reading about because he's not read it yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to read right now. So, because trying to get all the podcasts off and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Like I said, he literally can write faster than I can read right now. So, he has passed me. I'm very upset about it. I've been on page like 131 in book 4 for like 2 months
Okay.
now.
Mhm.
And so
It's killing me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
killing me not to be able to talk to him about it. Because that's kind of what we sit around and just talk about.
That being said, quick plug. I was one of I think I was backer number like 49.
I was literally just about to
Oh,
mention
for
it.
these. Yes, I did
Yeah,
it too.
for the Stormlight RPG.
Yes.
And we did the full
We did the
store
full, like,
backing.
store
I gave
backing.
them like I
Oh.
want to say it was almost $2,000
Oh my
on
God.
Kickstarter. So we are going to be one of the very first stores to be able to carry the Stormlight RPG when it comes out.
I'm
That's
so
awesome.
buying it as
Coming
soon as it comes
September.
out.
Yep.
I backed it.
Oh,
like-
we got a date for it, a street date for it?
I think, to the best of my knowledge, it's coming out in September.
Okay. I backed it like at the highest tier like a person could, basically, like without being the crazy like
Like $400 or something
yeah,
like that.
something like that. And
You're gonna get all like the figures, the books,
Yes,
I
everything.
got
like-
all of the painted figures, all
Yep.
of the books, multiple copies of all of the books,
Yep.
the DM screen, the expansions.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
I just
if we
wanted,
don't actually run a game of the Cosmere,
please.
I'm gonna
Oh,
be
yeah.
so angry with you.
We
If I need to
absolutely will.
take a job at the store and work for free just to be part of that, I will.
I'll
Don't
take
even
it
get
on
me
that. Don't
wrong.
worry.
Like I'm only available on
Be
weekends. 'cause I
careful
gotta
what you
go.
wish for.
Oh
Anna.
no! An excuse to play the Cosmere RPG with people who also love it? No, please.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
Oh, so good. It's actually like my first tattoo. Was
I know.
this-
I literally
Yeah.
made a comment about it as soon as I saw it. I was like, ah.
Yes. What is it? We were at the tattoo fest here in Jax last year, and I was like, I have like a few designs that I'm really, really invested in, but I couldn't do them at a fest.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came down to it, like we saw a couple artists, and I'm like, I think I want to get a first tattoo to see if I even want to invest the time and money in getting these other ones.
Right.
He was
And-
nervous about it.
Incredibly, because
He
I
was
was
like,
I mean,
really wanna do it?
as you can see, no
Listen.
ink on.
no
fresh
ink on,
canvas.
no ink on me.
he didn't want to do it in the beginning, and I was like, you know what? It's a tattoo fest. We drove all the way out here. Just get a small.
You got to get one.
And then he
You
sat
gotta
there and he's
get
like,
one.
okay, you convinced me. And he was
Yeah.
really easy to convince.
Yeah, I hate needles, and like tattoos are just little tiny needles.
Tryptopanophobia.
I don't know what that means.
It's the fear of injections and needles.
Okay, see, I'm also
See, I just say fear of needles.
fear of needles. I'm a simple man,
Yeah.
and I'm working on conquering that now because I'm on a GLP-1 injection.
Well, see,
So-
if I say it the other way, then it doesn't make me sound as much of a bitch.
Well, if you say, sorry, what is it?
Tryptopanophobia.
Yeah, that triggers my hippopotamonstroskepidelphobia. So
Oh, that's true.
Listen, just because you got gonorrhea herpes doesn't mean anything, right? Like, oh man, it was worth it. I still need to get the other 3 more lines of the first. The first
The first
oath.
ideals.
The first of the ideals, yeah.
Whenever you got it done, he's like, yeah, man, we're going to go like 2 months and get the other one done. It's been almost a full year.
No, it's been over a year.
It's been over,
It's been over a year.
I've been working on mine for like 4 years now.
Nice.
I get one every like 6 months or so. 'Cause
All of these.
I was gonna say you got these pretty rapidly because
Mhm.
that one
That one's
was
still glowing.
it's so good. Like this
Mhm.
one is gonna be really good when it's done.
Yeah, this is for those who can't see. I'm getting the big bads from the Silmarillion on my right arm,
Mhm.
and then I've got these are all my favorite classic novels. They're like pictures from my favorite classic novels.
Solid.
So they kind of nerd out on it. But
Is that the Phantom?
Yeah.
The Phantom of the Opera.
yeah, it says "Don't touch me, for I am Red Death stalking abroad." He's got a circled 7 in his hat for the Divine Comedy. And
Okay.
then Vero Nile Varius is
Mhm.
the coat of arms for the House of De Vere, who I believe is the ghostwriter for William Shakespeare.
Okay.
So these represent Dante, Shakespeare, and Phantom of the Opera.
That's so cool.
So for the longest time, I thought it was the Mask of the Red Death
A lot of people do, but no.
from
Mhm.
Edgar
This is
Allan
Poe.
Poe.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, the Telltale Heart.
The Telltale Heart, the
And then
Raven,
the
and the
Raven and the
Pendulum.
Pendulum, yeah.
What's the pig on a stake?
That is Lord of the Flies.
That's Lord of the Flies.
Oh,
And
okay.
then that is Dr. Jekyll's, because Dr. Jekyll only ever
Ah.
killed one guy,
Mhm.
and he did it with a walking stick.
Mhm.
So that's his broken walking stick.
Okay. I mean, we're on the topic. What's your little scimitar or dagger there?
That is from Albert Camus' The Stranger.
Okay.
The Arabian dagger is what glinted the sun in his eyes whenever he committed the murder that he commits in the beginning of the book. And then in the hilt is the Moonstone by James Wilkins, I believe is his name, which was like one of the first whodunits.
Mm-hmm.
It's from like 1863, I think.
Oh wow.
I have an original copy. Yeah.
That's so cool.
My wife and I collect old books, and so we've got some cool stuff in the house.
A bibliophile.
Don't rob me.
No. I only a little tempted. Only a little tempted.
That was more to the internet.
No. Okay. For legal reasons, that's a joke.
But yeah, sorry, tangent.
Tangents happen.
That's
also love
that's
this.
the name
Yeah,
of this
I can
show,
see.
basically. It's beneath the surface. Tangents.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
You should have seen us last episode, dude. We were just
This
all over the place.
This part all the way down.
I've got one on my chest, one on my back, both of my butt cheeks. I've got one on each leg, or a couple on my legs.
Oh.
So that one, I was 19 and dumb. Don't worry about it.
My goal is to finish up this part instead of doing a cover up here.
Mhm.
And as soon as I get my like almost all the way down here and my back done, that's whenever I'm going to start on the sleeves.
Yeah.
Because sleeves are something like it's like a first notice of people,
Mhm.
and I'm still looking for one specific artist to do my left arm full piece. And until I find the right one,
I can't
just
recommend my guy enough. I have his cards out there. His name's Brian Chun. Shout out to Brian. He's a D&D nerd. He does a lot of video game art and stuff like that. None of
Okay.
my tattoos do him justice because I don't really do the vibrant colors like he does.
Yeah.
My wife's tattoos do him a little bit more, but there's another guy who comes in here named Dominic Wolf. Who all of his stuff is by Brian,
Yeah.
and he's fantastic. He does amazing color work, and like I said, he does a lot of video game characters, anime characters, and he brings them to life in a way that I've like never seen.
Does he like the Stormlight Archive?
He and I have talked about it. I can't remember off the top of my head if he's actually read them, but I think I've definitely got him at least intrigued.
Okay. I might have to go to him then because I have what I want to do with this is have the ideals, but then have a design between or around them that kind of like embodies each piece of the ideals.
I've thought about getting shard plate and shard blades on my legs.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, he would do a really good job with that. Like,
Okay.
like I said, I have his cards outside. I'll give you one.
guess-
I can't recommend him enough.
Awesome.
I'm not really a color guy. I have
Hmm.
one color tattoo, and I'm gonna get it completely black and gray.
Okay.
I'm not. I thought
I
liked
wasn't
color.
either. I thought that I would never like colored tattoos because they fade. Because I grew up with a family. A lot of my family is bikers,
Mhm.
and so I grew up with a lot of old bikers who got colored tattoos in the '80s, and they were just so faded out. I was like, I never want that. But the ink has come such a long way that I'm kind of hooked on it now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like
It
it.
just doesn't really go with my my personal like preference with it.
Yeah.
I think color tattoos are amazing.
Yeah.
I love looking at them. They're really cool.
Yeah.
It's just like I look at them and I'm like, would I ever like look at it and not feel a type of way about it
Right.
myself?
Have you seen that? There's this. I want to say he's like a Korean guy that is out of New York that does those bright golds on black. Have you seen
Yes.
that? With
Those
that-
are nice.
Ooh, yeah,
I like that.
That's really cool.
I've seen someone do a full blackout piece on their arm and they get white ink over it.
Yeah.
It took like 4 sessions of white ink, but it looked amazing
Yeah.
afterwards.
That one dude. He did one that was like it was the One Ring melting in Sauron's hand. I think is what it was.
Oh, that's
But the
cool.
gold was it's just so gold. I would love to have that dude do one. Anyway,
I like it.
Anyway.
Would you like to fill the last 30 minutes of the podcast with D&D?
yeah, we can talk about
Yeah.
that.
We
Oh
can-
yeah, that
D&D,
thing
yeah,
that we're
that
supposed
thing.
to be here
Yeah.
for.
I was for sure profiled as an orc throughout this entire one shot.
Yeah.
And it was the funniest thing. That was probably the one thing I tried to like squeeze it in there. Like, why is the color green coming up so much?
yeah. Oh yeah. So you tried to steal a jacket.
Yep.
And you were like, "Can I steal this jacket?" I was like, "Yeah." You put it on. It is the exact same green as your skin. And then you're like, "I like to steal this hat." I'm like, "Yeah." You put it on. It's green like Robin Hood's hat with the feathers sticking out. You look like what did I? Oh yeah. At the end of the campaign, I knighted you, Sir Gumby.
Sir Gumby.
So, yeah, you were wearing a full green jumpsuit with a pointy fedora with a feather in it. By the end.
And then what was the one that really stuck out to me? It was fuckwad.
Mm.
Yeah, I say sat there and he's like, oh. I went to go talk to him. He's like, oh, and I'm like, and everyone was like, saying, oh, fuckwad.
Yeah.
And I was like, you are the fuckwad. And I walk away.
Yeah.
Listen, you weren't profiled. That was your necklace of rotting fingers.
Yeah. You had a necklace made of rotting fingers.
Yeah, but
He
I
smelled you.
left it outside. And
No,
like,
not with Farquaad.
Not at
Yeah,
first.
dude.
No,
No,
because
not
that's
at
why
first.
I asked you.
Not
I
at
said, when you
first.
walk up to him, are you wearing your necklace? You're like, yeah. Like he goes, ugh,
That's
because
fair.
he was smelling your fingers. Like,
There was
Oh wait, phrasing.
There was
Phrasing?
one more. I'm trying to remember what it was. Someone made fun of me for the way that I looked. The guy at the party, whenever the piano thing happened, and he looks exactly like me.
oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, look at me, look at me," and I'm like,
We've been streaming for an hour,
Uh-huh.
and the first question you have is about tattoos. Who would you suggest for like covering up words because of it being in a different language?
I mean, ultimately, my suggestion is Brian Chun for anything because I operate out of his wheelhouse, and they still turn out like to my liking, absolutely amazing. So I would say talk to him, and I'm sure that if he wouldn't be willing to do it, he would be able to point you in the right direction. But On Point Inc. in Jacksonville, Brian Chun, that is my recommendation for everybody.
"Cool."
Back to
Not
you.
sponsored.
Yeah, no.
Yet.
He did
It is
though.
sponsored.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did though. He gave me an idea. So one of the things we're going to be doing for this podcast is operating a Patreon for it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, whenever you guys all signed on as volunteers, I would love for us to eventually be able to pay you for your time. One of the ways we're going to do that is through Patreon. And so one of the things that we'll do is subscribers will be able to make a magical item if they hit the proper tier.
Yeah.
They'll be able to
That's
make
fine.
one magical item that will appear in the campaign guaranteed. Whether or not you guys use it to its full potential or not is up to the chaos of the campaign. But he was like, I have an idea for one. Whether or not he subscribes and ends up submitting it is to be determined. But he came up with the Arrow of Healing. Which
Oh,
if you,
yeah, you told us
you
about
shoot
that.
a guy with an arrow, it deals 1d6 damage and then 1d6 of healing. And so it's just a gamble every time you do it. You could deal 6 damage and heal 1.
I love it.
I love it. Now, here's the real question. If you shoot someone who's on death's door to try to heal them, does it bring them back up even if it neutralizes the effect?
I
Or
think
does
that
it just
I was gonna say,
it deals
you
the
wanna
damage
hear-
first.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, so it'll deal damage and then heal you.
So you better not be on 2 death saves.
Or maybe, I mean, honestly, it would be up to him, because if you create the magic item, you write the stipulations. In
There
my
you go.
mind, maybe you flip the coin for which one happens first.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Never let me
That
roll.
would be
Evens on.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have dice anymore.
No. Not until I hit good ones from Deep Dive Games.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, we actually do have
I
a
was
sponsor.
going to say we have a sponsor.
Oh.
Yeah, so Old School Dice and Accessories, which is who we carry a lot of our product out there.
shit.
I'm not, before they even agreed to sponsor, I have
Yeah.
constantly talked about how they are one of my favorite carriers, or one of our favorite distributors. When I order stuff from them, it comes in fast, it comes in quick. We had a defective piece that a customer bought, and he just sent me replacements. Like, they're an awesome company. And when I reached out to them and was like, hey, we're looking for D&D related sponsors. He's like, we're going to send your characters some stuff for the campaign. Like, so they're, I don't want to be wrong. What Zach originally told me, who's the sales rep that I was speaking to, what he originally said was, I think he's going to send us like a dice tower. Each character's going to get some dice and a notebook to keep notes in. And so Old School is sponsoring the podcast in some extent, which is awesome.
That's so cool.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I think when you got off the phone with them, you came out and talked to us about it.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, they're totally on board with sponsoring, except they can't financially sponsor us. They're going to send us out a bunch of promos, and the only thing they asked for was for us to give them a shout out,
Yeah,
which
which
was
more than happy to do. Like,
yeah, more than happy because
You're still looking.
we've. Oh yeah, no,
Oh, yeah,
we're
yeah, we're
still
also
totally
still
looking
looking
for
for
more sponsors. So if anybody out there in Math and Magic Land wants to, sponsor our show, sponsor anything really going on at the store, please hit us up. Deep Dive Games.
DeepDiveGames.store or
Yep.
DeepDiveGamesLLC@gmail.com.
Yeah,
That being
yeah.
said, I also just recently purchased a coin dozer, which I think you've both already fallen victim to. Yeah, just you. Okay. The coin dozer, 100% of the money that it raises goes towards the podcast, the traveling TCG teams, things like that. So I do have ways to supplant the store's income because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of people working for free. I know a lot of people are willing to do it because this is something they're passionate about. I don't ever want to succeed or fail and feel like I took advantage of somebody. So I told you guys whenever we first started, if you guys sign on for this thing as a volunteer, within a year, we're going to sit down and figure out how much I can pay you, and I'm going to pay you for your time. Because I think if you're willing to spend your time on a project that you're passionate about and make it better, you should be compensated for that.
Yeah.
And so that's why we are looking for sponsors. That's why we're looking for people to come in and spend all their life savings on our coin dozer because that's how I'm going to give it back to you guys.
Brother.
Running a store, while they do bring in a decent amount of money, it costs a lot of money to run them. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot in the budget for just a bunch of extra employees.
I'm excited to do the photo shoots. That's what I'm really happy
That's
for.
yeah. So yeah,
Because
you,
I need stuff for my Instagram to promote as well.
awesome.
Because
Yeah,
I
you were
have
saying
nothing.
plug yourself. Yeah, give us a
I'm pretty sure it's just called Santi Photography on Instagram.
Santi,
Mhm.
like Santiago.
Mhm.
Oh, really? Awesome.
That's my plug for like everything.
So one of Anna's ideas, because for those who don't know, Anna is our social media manager and general awesome person. One of her ideas was that each of the characters in the final campaign, whoever they may be, again we have not decided yet, but the final characters should each get their own Instagram page and social media, so that they can comment as themselves to kind of like get some following and stuff like
That'd
that.
be so
That's
cool.
so much
I'm
fun.
gonna
I love
change
that
my
idea.
photography page to that name.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's just called Santi. I forgot.
But Anna also is a professional makeup artist. So I said at some point, maybe when we have like, big milestone sessions, if we all come in a little bit early or we start a little bit late, more likely, because we're going to be coming in at like 6 a.m. But if she could do makeup so that everybody's in character. So
Do
if
like
you're
stupid
do, like, actual,
Snapchat
like,
photos
character-
with like captions
Well,
of
the
that
whole
we would
session.
write.
also
Yeah,
the whole
no,
session.
we're gonna be
session
recording
character.
it.
I love it.
Yeah. So like basically as you are Santiago Sintersurge or whoever it is, you would have your orc teeth and your green skin and all of that ready to go. But that's something that we would like to do because, like I said, Anna is a professional makeup artist.
We
talked
talked
about
about the
I-
finger necklace.
I think, yeah, I definitely think like that should definitely be like a big milestone event too.
Have it
Yeah.
the same color your skin.
Oh my
Like,
God.
something stupid like that would be funny.
I mean, honestly, you gave me the hat in the one shot.
Yeah.
If I am chosen, it might become a reality. I might
Will you
just
stay
make that
Sir
a part.
Gumby?
I might stay Sir Gumby.
He's got to meet Sir Gumby and fight him for the rightful title.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Well, this Snapchat thing that I was talking about, that'd be so funny. That's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
If I make that Instagram for that,
Mhm.
I would like go on Snapchat, take a photo with me and like him and like the full makeup and everything, and be like, look at this fancy guy.
Yes, very distinguished gentleman here.
But I
Yes.
can't read or write, so I would just go.
Totally not politically correct. Have you guys ever seen Helen Keller's Twitter?
Oh my god.
So there's
Has she even seen her Twitter?
she's dead.
Well, I was gonna say.
But there is a verified Twitter, or when it was Twitter before it was X, there was a verified Twitter for Helen Keller that was pictures of just black squares and then somebody mashing on a keyboard. So that would be kind of Santiago. Everybody else is giving these like eloquent speeches about how the campaign is going, and you're just like da 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 da. Da.
Oh. Smiley face, dagger, blood pool.
Oh yeah, I just type in emojis.
Type in emojis.
That's what he taught me to do.
Yes, that
And
would be
then,
so funny.
it's another
Yes, this picture is right.
It goes from like him showing me like pointing at the phone, like the POV of that, and then the next one is me holding his coat, running out the door, with him running behind me.
Yeah,
And then oh, dude, that would be so funny.
that sounds very fun. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna be pushing these podcasts. This podcast, very heavily, because it's the one thing that I think I want to do something that is more relaxing.
Mhm.
I spend a lot of time at the store and a lot of time working on this stuff. It's nice to spend some of that time behind the DM screen and enjoying the hobby. And so, but the other thing is like there's a real chance to get us out there and get some more people to know about the store and things like that. So I'm going to be really pushing heavy for this podcast to be a success. So I hope that it takes off.
One of the guys that I work with
definitely.
today, his name was Rob. I love Rob. He's one of my favorite people. I told him today that I was going to pop on a podcast for like D&D, and he was like, "I'm a master D&D, or I'm a master DM, or something." I have no idea what that means. And he's like, "I've been DMing for 20 years," and I'm like, "Is that a long time?" And he's like, "It's 20 years," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like, are you good at it?" He's like,
yeah, but how many podcasts have you been on?
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's kind of. I was like, "Why didn't you like try out?" And he's like, "I never heard of it." And I'm like, "It's a Deep Dark Games," and he's like, "I think I've heard of that place." And I'm like, "Well, go."
We're only like pushing 5 years. We're almost 5 years old, and I get people in here every day. I had no idea you guys were here, and so that's one of the things. Like I'm saying, I would love for more people to know that we exist.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not to pat myself on the back, I don't overcharge for things. I try to keep the place clean and tidy. I try to keep everybody happy, and so I feel like if I can get you to come here once, you'll come back. Is my general goal. So a big part of this is a way to get people here once. So,
Yeah. That's actually what happened to me. I came in, so I love Warhammer. I got into it a couple years ago and started painting and all that. And I came in and just because you're one of the few actual like tabletop gaming stores in Camden,
Mhm.
and I happened to walk in and you guys had the Into the Dark Kill Team box
Yeah.
for 40K. And Tyler's like, "Yeah, man, it's right over there." And I'm just getting started, and it's got some terrain that would be good for me to have because it's really hard to get your hands on terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I snagged it, and it was actually like. At the time, it was usually going for above MSRP. You guys had it at a reasonable price, and I've just been popping in ever since. And because I work right down the road, and I'll on the way home just swing by and pop in, just shoot the crap, talk to Nick. I'm not the cardboard crack guy, but we do like painting.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
We did. That is one thing that we definitely had in common. We were talking about painting and things like that. Like I exclusively are using war painters right now, just because they're a solid product. They come in the nice dropper bottles. They come with the little mixer beads already in it, and I don't have to worry about getting too much paint on my palette, so I'm wasting money. So
yeah, that's something. That's a hill I'll die on. If I don't pay more to get a product in, I don't go above MSRP. I just won't do it. Sometimes it's to my detriment because, like what we did in our little snarky TikTok we made a couple weeks ago. If you go into my reviews right now, the one review that you're going to see is a 3-star review.
Oh no!
And it says, "Not going back here. The place is nice, but they were hiking prices on something." And what it is I was selling a free con at MSRP, but it was going for less on the secondary market. And sometimes that is the case. But at the same time, if a box is going for 3 times its price on the secondary market, I still sell it at MSRP at most. Nobody ever leaves the 5-star comment saying, "This is a $200 box that he sold me for $50." But I always get the 3 stars of it's a $30 box. He was selling it for $40. So you can't really win. But
All right, I'll change that when we get out of here.
now it's not going to seem staged at all.
No, never.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to do as many things as we can because I like one. I try to do a lot of like community giving back things like that because I feel like there needs to be a place where people can go and hang out, know they're not getting ripped off, know that they're going to have a good environment. And so I think that this podcast is hopefully going to be a way to get some people to learn about us.
Yeah, I hope so, man.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping that this podcast kind of takes off because we've been doing this now for what 5 weeks. This is the 5th
I think this
week.
is the 6th.
No, we haven't had that many
I'm
episodes.
pretty sure this is the 6th.
It's 6? Oh, see, I can't count, so that's my problem.
You go. You just let the dice do that for
Pretty
you.
much. No, we honestly, the first episode I don't really count. That was kind of just a.
It was a test.
We were sitting down just BSing the whole time. But yeah, so we've been doing this for 6 weeks now, and I mean, people seem to like it.
Yeah.
We've gotten a decent amount of views.
Yeah, I guess I should say
Oh,
these
that's
podcasts, not just the
Oh, yeah?
podcasts.
David said, every employee I've ever interacted with has been pleasant, and even when it was in a 40K crusade, I enjoyed my interactions with everyone I got to meet. I love swinging by when I have my VA appointments. I almost always buy paint when I come in.
There you go.
Look at that.
Same.
Everybody trying to
Thank
inflate
you,
my ego.
random customer.
Thank you,
Who's
random
Elvis?
citizen.
Well, I know who it is.
My third time in the store, I have to say, best D&D store I've ever came in.
Really? Awesome. You have to say, you're right.
It's also the only
It's
one.
a-
Good answer. We could have stopped it ahead of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, are there, before we wind up wrapping up, are there any like key takeaways from the campaign you guys want to talk about that we didn't get to discuss or anything like that?
Honestly, nothing that we didn't touch on, but just to reiterate, I love the creative freedom, and even if I don't get selected, I am going to be watching the podcast. I'm going to be following this because I want to see where your vision goes, because you're just untapped potential.
I appreciate that a lot.
I mean, that's literally where I'm kind of sitting at, is that if I don't end up getting into that final team, I'm going to be here. I mean, I work here, so I'm already going to be here. But
That's
I'm going to be here in his ear all the time, just hey, what's going on? What do you got planned next? What we got going on
Give me some
here?
juice.
Let me know.
I'm
Give
going to
me
say
some
subscribe
inside
to the
baseball.
Patreon.
Yeah.
And you'll figure it out.
Please, you get enough of my money as is.
Listen, if I get to create my own magic item, I'm just going to say it's going to be the worst version of the deck of many things.
I actually have like,
Mm.
so whenever me and him were talking about doing like a D&D thing at our place, I was listing off different ideas that I had for like different like magical items and potions and whatnot. He was like, dude, these are actually really fucking good.
I'm like,
You got to be careful because they can get OP really quick.
I don't make them
Mm-hmm.
too OP. Every like thing that will give like, holy shit, that sounds stupid. I'm like, wait a minute.
See, that's what I like. I like
It's
ones that
more.
wind up that sound really good, but wind up being completely useless.
There
And my
was
favorite
a-
one that I came up with, I call it the gauntlets of the pugilist, right? And so
Okay.
if you put them on, it gives you like plus 1,000 of everything to your barehanded attacks, but you're no longer barehanded if you put them on. So it negates itself before you. So
Oh.
yeah. So if you could find some way to
I like
transfer
that.
the enchantment to another object, awesome. But if not, they are useless in their current state. So I like things like that.
You make them like a punching dagger, so you're not actually unarmed.
Yeah,
exactly. If I take this magical dagger and I just duct tape it to the gauntlets, does it count then?
You're definitely not unarmed then.
There was one that I was talking to him about. I was super excited about, and it was a skull, but it was like a mask. So you put on, there's like I forgot what skull it was. I think it was like a goat skull maybe. But you put it on, and you get like +5 to each roll that you throw. But you can only wear it if you've taken almost half of your HP gone,
Okay.
and you can only wear it for I think it was like one turn. But during that turn, the enemies that you are fighting swap positions in your eyes with your team, so you have to actually hit them,
Mhm.
and it looks like through his eyes that you're damaging your teammates or your party, and it switches every 5 seconds between what you hear and what you see.
So it creates like mass confusion,
Mhm.
but you're extra powerful for the time being.
Yep.
Yeah, see stuff like that, like who knows? Again, I'm not saying that right away we're gonna have 1 million subscribers on Patreon. But assuming that the one or two like regular customers we have who are very excited about this campaign join in and come up with like crazy items. Because like when I made the Crown of the Justicar,
Yeah.
I did not think this is going to be a way to one-shot anybody that they come up to, right? But it is. Like, if you're not the
level
rightful
wizard.
king, it kills you. So yeah, it's just I'm. That's why I say that if they do subscribe to that level, they're getting one. They're getting one item because somebody could sit here and just brew how to ruin this campaign, and I'm going to let it go through. If it's not like inappropriate for the campaign, because clearly we still have to moderate a little bit. But if it's not something that is like triggering for people, it's going in. If they subscribe, I'm putting it in. And when you guys find it, you're gonna be like, yeah, you find this staff. Like, oh, what does it do? I don't know. Point it at that tree and check it out. You point at the tree and the tree turns to barbecue sauce or whatever it is. Like, whatever magical item that comes in, like it's going in the campaign, and we'll see what happens. Chaos will ensue.
So all those alternate email accounts I have now will finally come into play.
Mm.
The only funny thing that I really enjoyed through the campaign that really made me laugh internally, because because I didn't want to like show that I was too excited almost that entire game. I was really nervous, like for the one shot.
Oh, really?
But it was whenever there was like, you need to signal
Alira.
Alira,
Oh yeah.
and he goes, and you look at me and you say, "Go ahead," and I'm like, and they're like, "Who's not in combat?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm good. Like I'm farther away."
Yeah.
And because everyone was like, "Oh, well, I'm doing this. I'm doing like."
Well, I had everybody roll, and in that exact
Oh,
instance,
that's
you
right.
rolled the highest.
Yeah, I rolled the highest.
The one
And then-
time you rolled high in the whole
Yeah,
campaign.
and you sat there and you had this big smirk on your face, and you're like, "Go ahead, summon her." And I'm like, and I looked around, magic user, everyone used magic and had some kind of fire spell.
Yep.
And I'm like, is there any alcohol around me? Because I was gonna originally just blow alcohol into a torch, and it's gonna go hopefully high enough if I rolled high enough. But then I just ended up setting an arrow on fire. And shooting it up.
Yeah, so for context on that, the captain who had hired them, she was the ex-captain of the King's Guard. She had been fired by the guy trying to usurp the throne. She hired them for this heist, but was exiled from the kingdom, so had to remain in hiding. She was right outside the castle walls, and if they really needed her, like, if shit hit the fan, they were supposed to send fire in the sky, and she would come to their aid. And everybody else, I had everybody just roll a dirty 20, or a straight 20. And whoever was the highest was going to be the person responsible for signaling Captain Alira. And for one time in the entire campaign, you got the highest roll, which was like a 17, I think.
Yep.
And so
And the
you
only time I got a nat 20 was for the stupidest thing imaginable. I think it was for the, what was it? Oh, yeah. It was for Gideon. Whenever I said that, I didn't say that.
Oh, that's right.
That was
Yeah,
the only time I rolled a nat 20.
Right.
So
Whenever you
this
said somebody's talking shit, who said that? Not me.
Not
Nat 20.
me.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. When it absolutely doesn't matter, you can kill it on the dice, but any other time, they're dead.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all our time, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. This has been Beneath the Surface. I'm Nick the Red. My regular co-host is not here, so today I have with me Braden Spencer, and we had Tom and
Thomas.
Yeah, close enough.
Eric.
Thomas and Eric. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. It was a
I'm
blast.
terrible with names. I recognize faces.
I'm also terrible with names.
Yeah, like we said, one way or another, whether you guys make it to the final campaign, thank you for joining in. Thank you for coming to the show. It's been a blast.
It has been great. Thank you so much for having us.
And I can't wait to look forward to watching y'all's actual escapades when I get the chance when it goes up on our YouTube channel.
Those are going on Patreon.
Oh, they are going on
Yes,
Patreon.
yes.
Okay,
So
yeah.
We're currently editing the one shots. They are low quality. They are, because they were not meant for this. This was a secondary thought.
Yeah.
The audio and visual quality of these one shots is very poor, but we are going to put them up on Patreon so that people can see where this started anyway.
Sure.
So if anybody's interested, we will have the information out for that soon. But yeah, lastly, thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you when we see you, I guess.
All right.
For sure.
Bye, Internet.